Hello, this is Roy Garten, and welcome to another edition of The Right Has Left. We have got so much to talk about on this podcast that I hope I can just squeeze everything in, because this has just been 1 week of one thing after another happening from the White House, including Singalgate, tariff increases, the takeover of Greenland, at least he's attempting to take over Greenland, and more budget cuts from Health and Human Services thanks to Kennedy, and more and more layoffs. The layoffs are now coming by the thousands. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, at the top of the news from this past week, we need to talk about Donald Trump's executive order, one of hundreds that he has put into place since he's taken office. And this one has to deal with the Smithsonian. So what does the order say? The order is called Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. And the White House says that the goal is revitalizing key cultural institutions and reversing the spread of divisive ideology. It says that the Smithsonian promotes narratives that portray American and Western values as inherently harmful and oppressive, his executive order stated. And he also is giving a hint that he wants to return the statues and monuments of Confederate figures, many which were taken down or replaced around the country after the police killing of George Floyd, as we all remember. That happened in Minneapolis and in 2020. And there is rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is detested, as you know, by Donald Trump. Now, let's just pause and take this all in. So, the Smithsonian is a museum for all Americans and for people around the world. And yes, it does focus on minorities, as it should. Wonderful, great folks like Martin Luther King Jr. and others. And yes, it talks about the history of Black America, among other cultures. And it has been there for years and years and years. We all know right now that Donald Trump believes in nothing but white privilege and white supremacy only. I mean, it's becoming a common fact. You're seeing it unveil right before your very eyes. And when he's talking about bringing back the statues of the Confederacy, you know that he believes in white privilege because, as you know, the Confederate Army, and the reason we had that Civil War is because of they didn't want them to take their slaves away. Now, let me just pause here for a moment, because you can see this movie poster behind me. I'm also an actor and a film director and producer of short films, many of which I've had become award-winning short film festivals. So I played the Confederate Beauregard. Even though this was a fictitious short film, Beauregard was a real Civil War general. And after the Civil War ended, he went on to become a very prominent businessman. And he basically detested the Civil War, and even though he was a general in it, he wound up supporting many blacks and African Americans in his business, and gave a lot of money to them. He actually died a very poor man because of his support of the blacks. So let's get back on to this thing with Donald Trump. So the order also is going to call for improvement in Independence Hall, which I support. You know, that's actually a good thing. Yay, way to go, Donald. And he wants that taken care of by July 4th, 2026, in time for the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And Trump also, he signaled out some other things that he just doesn't like. The National Museum of African American History and Culture, which opened in 2016. He wants to see that closed. It's because it's near the White House. He also, the Women's History Museum, he wants that closed because women, in his opinion, are second-class citizens, and they have nothing to do. It's a violation of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. He doesn't like that. He wants to close the American Art Museum for criticism. He says that the museums And our nation's capital should be places where individuals go to learn, not to be subjected to ideological indoctrination or diverse narratives that distort our shared history, he said. So the Civil War distorts our shared history. The black culture at the Smithsonian, that distorts our shared history. Shared history of who? Of white privilege and white supremacy? That's the only thing you need to know about. Women, he just said it, women and blacks and minorities are second class. White men, number one. Everybody else, number two. I mean, you can just see it right there in why he wants to, get rid of the Smithsonian. And how he's going to do this is like he's doing with everything else. He's going to cut funding. And if you don't have funding, nothing is going to get paid and taken care of, and they're going to go broke. It's just like all the attorneys. He's just now said that are going to, anybody that tries to attack him with attorneys, he's going to stick Pam Bondi on him and Pam Bondi and get rid of, make sure that they're not practicing attorneys anymore. They're going to get them disbarred. So now attorneys are all scared to bring any charges against Donald Trump because they're going to lose their practices. The other thing that's going on, as I'm going to try to rush along because there's so much to cover here, is Trump's 25% automobile tariffs. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars more in new cars because the tariffs of imports, because all of the parts and the putting together cars all happen in other parts of the world, and even though they're finally assembled here in the United States, those parts come from other countries. Now, who does this affect, this 25% tariffs? Almost every major car manufacturer, including Ford and GM. Not just the import people, Ford and GM as well. This 25% tariff import is going to hurt you. Now you're going to say, well, Roy, I already own a used car and it's paid off. How's this going to affect me? I'm not going to be buying a new car anywhere in the near future. Well, your used car is going to need parts sooner or later, right? And all of those parts are, many of them come from other countries. Mexico, China, Taiwan, whatever. If you're going to go down to your local AutoZone and you're going to pick up the part and you're going to put it in yourself, expect to pay a lot more for it. So there you go. Yes, those tariffs on cars is going to hurt you. Now, what's going to be the trickle-down effect? Again, the consumer. He or she's going to be paying more. And I'm going to tell you, if new car auto sales slow down so much, you're going to see automobile dealerships go out of business because they're not selling anything. They're not selling anything because people can't afford it. And even if they can't afford it, interest rates on new cars, unless you're somebody very wealthy like Elon Musk or Donald Trump or all these other corporate millionaire and billionaire cronies that can just go out and write a check and buy something, the average American can't. They got to finance it. So it's just going to be absolutely crazy because if they go to buy a new car that costs thousands more, then their monthly payments are going to go up. What typically was $300 or $350, $400 will now be $600 a month for a new car. Who the hell can pay that? Huh? So there you go. The other thing that's going on, the Department of Health and Human Services cutting nearly a quarter of its workforce. And again, this is just absolutely crazy. And why are they cutting their workforce? Because of this guy. Yes, Kennedy. He is back at it again. And it's just absolutely crazy. And what is he doing? A quarter of its workforce, 10,000 people, is going to be losing their jobs because of Robert F. Kennedy. And it's just damn sad. What he has announced this past Thursday is a sweeping reduction of the agency that protects Americans' health and oversees Medicare and Medicaid. Now, for all you folks that said, well, this is how it's getting down to affecting seniors with their Medicare and Medicaid by lack of people to be able to do anything. But he says it ensures the safety of the nation's food and drugs. This move will save the department about $1.8 billion annually, he said, and in a news release, by reducing staff from 82,000 to 62,000. Half of those 20,000 employees are going to take early buyouts and early retirement, while 10,000 people will lose their jobs. Now, this, folks, is absolutely, I don't know what else to say, scary for lack of better words. And let me tell you why. Let's take a look at this. Now, you can see on these slides where all the budget cuts are happening, how many people are losing their jobs. And it's absolutely crazy. But what you're going to see over here, you see that blue arrow there? Well, only 0.2% of those who are getting layoffs is the immigration and the Border Patrol. Their budget cut is basically zero. And why? Is because the folks are going around and rounding up all the immigrants. Now, them having money, that's very important. So let's only cut 0.2% from them. Everybody else in the federal government, the hell with you. You're going to lose your jobs. We're going to cut your funding. And we're going to give that all to the private sector so my billionaire cronies can take over. I don't know if you caught this in the news, but Donald Trump also wants to cut the TSA and put that into private sector. So he's got a bodyguard that he's had when he was in the work for him. He's got a huge now in company that provides security, and he's been thinking maybe he would like to take over TSA. And it's just this is just the stuff that's going on right now. Thousands of people are losing their jobs. He's cut down the FAA, now the TSA, he wants to get rid of that. And of course, wants to put these schools, the Department of Education is going. So 49,110 employees who took buyouts, about 75,000 more planned reductions, at least 171,080. If you don't think this is going to affect unemployment, then you've got you must be out in la la land, because this is a lot of people losing jobs, and it's going to show up in the national numbers here. So just get ready. Trump is just, I don't know, he's out of control with all these executive orders. So another thing that President Trump is going to be doing is imposing a new policy to cap indirect costs for National Institutes of Health, or NIH. He's killing all the grants that we have, except for 15% that has been done, where we're trying to find cures for things, nothing important, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, nothing really important. So why should the federal government have all that money for research? We don't need it. Even though, and I keep saying this, over 9 prominent psychologists have said that Donald Trump is in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease. That's why he's acting the way he does at times, and just pauses and he can't get his thoughts together, or he starts rambling on. These 9 prominent psychologists, and you can look it up, it's not a secret, it's there in the news, who've watched Donald Trump and his mannerism. It's not just due to his advanced age that he's getting, he's near 80. They said they have seen some things, but maybe that's why he doesn't want to have money out there for Alzheimer's disease, because he doesn't want anybody to know about it. Now, this is just my opinion. Of course, I'm giving you a narrative. You can take it for whatever it's worth. But under the House Appropriations Committee and Labor, Health and Human Services and Education Subcommittee ranking member, this lady, Rosa DeLauro, says that cutting all of that funding is not a good thing. In fact, it's extremely dangerous. And another thing that has gone on with this budget cut is the fact of the matter is we have been giving a lot of medical support for third world countries, specifically children, to help them get their shots for polio and other diseases. And that funding is going to stop too. So it's kind of scary. The United States has always been a nice country of where we're helping people, and we're not going to be doing that anymore. And Trump goes on this America first, that's all fine and dandy. But we've also been a country where we've lent our expertise, our science and our medical knowledge to other countries where they don't have anything like that. And, these kids out there, they don't have any way to get medical support. Well, that's all going to stop too. So I don't know where else we can go with this. So I feel sorry for these kids and how things are going with them. So, but it is what it is, right? So let's get back into some other news that are going on here. The thing that's going on right now that's kind of crazy is what's been called, for lack of better terms, Singalgate, and we're going to talk about that right now. Singalgate is something that we've been having this situation with the app Signal, and what's been going on with that is this guy right here, Jeffrey Goldblum of the Atlantic magazine. He was inadvertently brought in on a group chat, and that group chat was on the app Signal, and he was invited by members of the committee. So this is what it was. It was for the bombing in Yemen with the Houthis, and he was brought in on that chat, and it involved a lot of people. And some of those people that were involved were Mike Waltz. He's the one that actually invited him in. He's the National Security Advisor. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, he was on that chat. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of the National Intelligence, she was brought in on that. She was on that chat. Our Vice President was on that chat, and also Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. He's supposed to be on the secure chat. Brian McCormick, National Security Council, he was in on that chat. And Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, he was on that chat. So as you can see, there was a lot of people that were on that chat. Now, one thing that I want to bring out about this, and if you look at this slide, the Vice President said that there is a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I want you to look at that, because this is what happens, especially here in Florida, and you can just look at this anywhere else. Think about this. If you didn't notice this, you must have been in a cave. Before this strike in Yemen happened, gas, like here in Florida, was at $2.71 a gallon. This has been, the lowest prices that I have ever seen. 6 hours after the strike in Yemen, gas went up to $3.19 a gallon. That is right, from $2.71 to $3.19. A lot of Trumpsters said, well, now that Donald Trump's in office, look how much gas has gone down. Well, the president has nothing to do with gas prices directly. Indirectly, like this bombing in Yemen, yes. Because oil is a bottled product and it's traded as a commodity. And if there's anything that influences oil prices, like unrest in the Middle East, oil's going to spike and go up. If you see anything else like seasonal changes, gas occasionally will fluctuate in prices a little bit. But when you got stuff like this, then a bombing in Yemen in the Middle East, it's going to affect oil prices. So it went from $2.71 to $3.19, and so Donald Trump indirectly did have an effect on that. This last slide that I want to show you, I'm not going to show you all the chat. You've seen it on the national news, so it's no sense, but I picked out a couple key things. This other thing here that is the OPSEC, or Operational Security. Of course, you heard that we are currently clean on OPSEC. Well, they weren't. They were on a Signal chat, and a journalist was in on it, and they're now had hearings from both the Senate Intelligence Committee and the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee. Have all had meetings with these people, said, what the hell happened? So as you can see, it wasn't a secure chat. as much as they thought it was. And this is just due to the inexperience of a lot of these people. Now, some of them, of course, have had no experience in Congress as a Senate or a Congresswoman or a Congressman, but a lot of them, like Pete, hasn't. And so they don't know any difference. You got amateurs or people with no experience in running our national military, and they thought Signal was a secure chat. It does have encryption, but not enough to where people can't get in on it. So, the editor of The Atlantic is in there listening and watching all this, and he screenshot everything. And he once said, hey, I'm not going to publish all of it. If you guys just admit to it, you screwed up. They never did. So he said, okay, I'm going to publish all of it. So now we all seen what really happened. And it's just absolutely crazy. So there you go, Signalgate. That's really something that you got to... think about that is like, what in the world happened there? So another thing that's going on in the news is this lady. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is sitting on the committee that wants to go over PBS, the public broadcasting system, and cut their funding because she called them communists because of the way that they, do their broadcasting. As you know, a public broadcasting service is not like your regular mainstream networks. Millions of people love PBS for its children's programming, for its cultural programming that they have, for a lot of the programming that they bring in from England. They have a lot of programs and drama shows from England that people just love. And yes, they do a lot of programs on diversity. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, who she has no couth, she loves to act like she's in sixth grade and just throw temper tantrums, called PBS communist. Why? And this is Marjorie Taylor Greene. If you don't think she's, I don't know, watch this.
Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary...
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
and no. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
You know what? I don't care.
Service members fighting for your country.
I don't care about your
vice
fake news.
president
Do you have a relevant question? This is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asking.
I'm not answering her question because I don't care about her network. If you would like to ask, I can answer.
So there you see Marjorie Taylor Greene in her true colors, and this is the woman who I don't know where she again has learned proper etiquette and how to perform and how to act like a Congresswoman of the United States of America, but this is how she treats people. And as you know, that was an English reporter too. So their stuff's, that's why they're there, because they have a lot of their programming on PBS. So she's trying to ask a very simple, legitimate question, and Marjorie Taylor Greene goes off on a tangent that it was so disrespectful, and I don't know what to say about it other than you see how Marjorie Taylor Greene acts. So there you go. All right, moving on with another news item. Yes, J.D. Vance and his wife took a little trip to Greenland. Yeah, and they were there to talk to the people of that country to try to see if they are happy or want to go ahead and be taken over by, yes, the United States of America. And here's a beautiful shot of J.D. Vance and the family and others there representing the federal government to go ahead and see about, hey, you guys want to be taken over by the United States of America? That would be a cool thing there for you, wouldn't it? Sure it would. So we're here to represent you guys and see what you want to do. Well, of course, the people of Greenland, over 82% of them, want nothing to do with the United States. Greenland is currently under the auspices of Denmark. They're the country that basically oversees Greenland. And yes, the United States has a base there from the United States Space Force. And that's basically where J.D. Vance and his wife wound up touring, because the people of Greenland wanted nothing to do with them. They told them to get the hell out of their country. And of course, Donald Trump says, oh, we need Greenland, just like we need Canada, for the protection of the United States of America. The one thing that Donald Trump is actually interested in, just like he is with Ukraine, is the minerals there. He's mentioned that very, off the line sublime there, that, of all the things that he wants from Greenland, it's rich in minerals, just like Ukraine. So, in other words, he's going, money. That's really what he wants out of Greenland. But, the guy is always off in left field. But that's another little thing there with Greenland. One other thing that I'm going to conclude with this, because I had just a lot of news, but let's bring it home to the state of Florida real briefly. This right here. The state of Florida, because, all of the immigrants are now being rounded up by ICE and being shipped back. And there are a lot of hardworking family people that are here trying to make money for their families back home, but they're all being deported now. So all of our orange growers and other people that deal with agriculture here in the state of Florida, they don't have anybody to work for them. So what does Governor Ron DeSantis and his Republican-controlled House and Senate decide? Well, let's get the kids to go to work for us. They want to eliminate working time restrictions. In other words, if you're 14 years old, you can now work overnight and pick oranges. If you are in a private school and you're 16 or 17, you can work even during when you're supposed to be in school if you'd like, and just skip school and go to work picking oranges. That's what we want you to do. And they're ending the meals break for kids 16 and 17, and teens can work overnight even on school days, as I just mentioned. So can you believe that, folks? Our people in the state legislature are nuts. Kids this young, 14 years old, working overnight. They'll be dead tired in the morning. They can't even get to school. And they're doing this because Ron DeSantis, is so strong on immigration deportation, and now the farmers are complaining they have nobody to work for them. So let's just go to the damn kids. Let's get them to work for us, and let's get rid of the restrictions so we can work these kids as much as we need to. Yet in the same breath, they lowered the gun controls, so where 18-year-olds can now go out and buy rifles, for whatever reason. And I'm going to back up there because, again, I when things are on the playing field that I kind of support, I'll back it up. I grew up in Wyoming, and in Wyoming, 18-year-olds could buy rifles for hunting. They're not out there to try to use it for illegal purposes or for mass shootings or anything. People at 18 in Wyoming, a lot of people hunt to put food on the table. So there, I kind of agree with that. Here in Florida, there's not a lot of hunting. There are some black bears and things like that, but an 18-year-old in today's culture and in the way things are here now with the shootings in schools, times have changed. I get that. To put 18-year-olds and give them rifles, I may be changing my thought process a little bit. This is what's called critical thinking skills. When I lived in Wyoming, that was one thing, and it's a sparsely populated state, and hunting's a big thing. So there, okay. Here in Florida, where we have a lot of population and a lot of nut jobs and no gun safety training and things like that, and you put a rifle in the hand of an 18-year-old and they get pissed off at mom and dad one day, who knows what might happen. So, again, critical thinking skills and how times and things have changed. So let's think about that. So putting a rifle in the hand of an 18-year-old today, I don't know, but this thing with the labor changes, that just scares me to death. So, all right, there you go. There is this week's episode and podcast of The Right Has Left. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to your comments. Until next time, this is Roy Garton. You try to have a good week. Take care.